Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. This month, Italics travels from Brooklyn through the United Nations in Manhattan to Montclair, New Jersey, advocating for community elder and child care, going behind the scenes with an Italian newspaper housed at the United Nations, and listening to some unique jazz. Continuing our series on Italian-American journalism, begun in our Revisiting Sandy episode last October, when correspondent Lucia Grillo talked with journalist Anthony Rifilato, this month Italics talks with Stefano Vaccara, founder and editor-in-chief of Voce di New York, an Italian and English-language newspaper housed in the United Nations. Voce di New York is an online newspaper that you founded, and you're the publisher of it. And this month it is 1 year old.
Yes, the newspaper was started publication just last April 2013. Every day we have new articles. It's in Italian, but it's an American newspaper. In fact, it's written under La Voce di New York. There is written also giornale online protetto dal primo emendamento della Costituzione degli Stati Uniti. So it's the online newspaper protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I'm Italian, but I'm an American citizen, but La Voce is 100% an American publication. Italian journalism is a different journalism. We call it a militant journalism. Here there is too, but here it's called advocacy journalism.
Right,
Advocacy. Instead, in Italy, you tend to be partisan. It's not that now in the United States everything works perfect,
right.
You know, but at the same time, it's important to be, I think, open to all the voices. And La Voce wants to do that. He wants to be a new voice in the sense that will integrate in this newspaper. Everybody can have a voice. They have something to say. We don't have la linea, so-called, to respect. If you, Anthony, send me an article, he's a kind of, I don't know, progressive or conservative, I don't care. In the sense that for me it's important that he's has some ideas, but I don't have to follow. I don't want to be a newspaper that somebody can say he's a leftist or he's a conservative. Italy, I think, needs this. In fact, I think we had success about it because about 40% of our readership, we can see through the internet, it's Italian from Italy.
You actually have a section of your paper that's dedicated to United Nations news.
The United Nations is very important. I've been a correspondent here at the United Nations before, also for America Oggi, but especially for Radio Radicale. There is a big radio in Rome where I've been a correspondent. I'm still a correspondent for them. But La Voce di New York, since the first day when it started, covering the United Nations was very important because in Italian, you know, Italian is not an official language of United Nations. And the stories from the United Nations in Italian newspaper, yes, they cover only when it's a big story. I mean, there is a big resolution from the Security Council, of course, what the Italian newspaper will cover. But the daily stories never happen. In English, in French, in Arabic, in Chinese, the story, even in the internet, out there, not in Italian.
Not in Italian.
So our paper here in Italian wants to be the voice for this.
And you've also recently published a book, first in Italian and then in English, and it's two different titles.
In English is Carlos Marcello, the man behind the JFK assassination.
Right.
In Italian is Carlos Marcello, il boss che odiava I Kennedy, the boss that hated the Kennedys.
So the premise of your book is that the assassination of JFK actually has its origins in Louisiana.
Yes, Carlos Marcello, his real name was Calogero Minacori. At the time, he was mafia boss of New Orleans, the most dangerous mafia boss that this country had, simply because he was a real mafia boss. He wasn't a mobster or a gangster. In 1979, there was a commission, Congress published a big study on the JFK assassination. They didn't say they had a smoking gun, but they said that they thought that the Warren Commission was wrong. And Oswald was not the only person, the only responsible. And Carlos Marcello, this mafia boss, was behind it. Maybe not alone, but for sure, Carlos Marcello, that had links with Oswald, with Jack Ruby. And the reason the target of Carlos Marcello was not even the president. The duel was between Robert Kennedy and Carlos Marcello.
So what's the reception been?
In Italy, the book went very well. The same thing here in America. I had good reviews, and not only good reviews for professional reviewer, but also especially the readers.
Where are we here at this setting?
It is where history passed through. For me to be a journalist here is a privilege, and with my colleagues I share this privilege. And La Voce di New York now, I'm proud that he's the Italian language voice from this building.
Read La Voce di New York at lavoceny.com. In our modern times, for various reasons, the elderly and the very young are in need of care and attention outside the home. Swinging Sixties Senior Center and Small World Daycare Center in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, are two community institutions that provide such care. With gentrification expanding throughout the boroughs and increased cuts to public funding, places such as this are threatened with closing. And this particular center, with its unique history, takes to its grassroots origins to fight for its survival. Correspondent Lucia Grillo takes us to Brooklyn, New York, to talk with Swinging Sixties administrators and some of its spirited regulars.
I'm Lucia Grillo with Italics. We're at Swinging Sixties Senior Center and Small World Daycare in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, which have been staples of the community since the 1970s and now face possible closure to be replaced by high-end condos as the community faces greater levels of gentrification.
The Swinging Sixties Senior Center was started in 1974 by a group of neighborhood ladies.
Immigrants from Italy, they wanted a place for the Italian senior and for the Italian family. So the Italian parents, they could go either work or better than that, go to school.
And they went into the city with the idea of filling a void in the neighborhood for seniors and for child care.
What is the day-to-day here for the seniors?
Well, it's open 5 days a week. They open up, I think, at 7 in the morning. They have coffee in the morning. But as you can see, lunch is a big thing for the seniors. Their food here is excellent, and they do get big crowds, and they have a good time here.
We usually serve about 100 to 150 meals a day.
We have a lot of activities for them. A couple of days a week, they have bingo after they have lunch. But then downstairs, they have art classes here. They have aerobic classes here. They have ceramic classes here.
We have a bocce court downstairs. I think one of the only centers in the city with an indoor bocce court.
So there's so much for them to do, and it becomes such a big part of their life.
How long have you been coming to the center?
About 25 years.
And how often do you come?
3 times a week.
Quando è venuta lei?
Io sono venuta dal 71 e allora è stato fatto questo palazzo.
Perché uno di noi già abbiamo l'età, non possiamo andare da nessuna parte più. Dobbiamo andare solo in casa.
Qua giochiamo il bingo, parliamo con le amiche, è bello. Poi vengono i dottori qua, sì, vengono i dottori dalle volte, vengono quello della pressione, ci misuriamo la pressione, ci troviamo bene, qualche cosa che noi non sappiamo fare, ci leggono qualche modulo, qualche cosa.
This is a community center. We also offered classes to take the GED for, and also we had classes for people to become citizens.
I've lived in the neighborhood my whole life, and this has been a fixture in this neighborhood from 1976.
When I was a child, I used to come here after school because when my parents were working parents and couldn't be home when I was home from school, so I used to be after school, and then as a parent, I brought my 2 children here, and now I'm volunteering.
I was born in the community, and my family, grandfather, aunts, uncles, cousins, all participated here, all loved the center. It was a home away from home for them and for the members of the community. there's still a grassroots of Italian Americans here, and they remained here. They still own homes here. They raise their families here. They worship here, and they eat here.
So what does having this place mean to you, having this place to come to?
It's very good. I had nice company here. Socialize with all these young people. Be nice.
Per l'inverno che fa la neve, cose come noi che siamo anziani e possiamo prendere, cadere malate, cose. Dove possiamo andare? Non possiamo andare a nessuna parte.
Questo posto è anche importante per i
Importante
bambini.
per i bambini che finiscono la scuola là. Le persone che lavorano sopra vanno a prendere i bambini dopo che finiscono la scuola.
Small World does cater to parents that are working parents or middle class parents and can't afford like high-end babysitters or can't afford high-end daycares that are emerging here in this neighborhood.
They started with only 2 classrooms, and now we have 5 preschool and 2 after schools. An after school program service children that go to school first and then come here for activity, homework, and they offer a hot supper. But so the parents, when they come, they already have their children fed. And the same thing with preschool. We serve breakfast, hot lunch that's served, and it's cooked by beautiful Italian women. And we have certified teachers in each classroom with the assistant teacher and aide. So we have a very well program.
We've been here funded by the Department for the Aging for 40-odd years. We had an absentee landlord, which is probably getting back to the history that we had with the Department for the Aging and losing our funding. Councilmember Diana Reyna came to our rescue and gave us the daycare center discretionary money to continue to operate because the city did not want to pay the exorbitant rent to a private landlord, which they've been paying for 40-odd years.
It's like anything in Williamsburg now. Everything is bought for development. Everybody wants to make condos, apartments to make money. So I think that was his main idea. But I don't think he had any idea how much we were going to put up a fight for this building. Hopefully, by showing the community support, how much the people want this here, they don't want more condos, we don't want more apartments, that he'll sort of start to negotiate with us in good faith and we can get control of the building.
And what will happen to these seniors if they don't have this place to come to?
I don't know. I mean, there's really no place for them except their home. They'll be pretty much shut in. There's no services. You know, there's no place for them to, other than the place of worship. The only other place they really feel welcome is here. There's a great vibe here, and it's an everyday vibe. We worship together, we play together, we eat together, we mourn, and we live. And that's what they do here every day. You know, they can't get enough of this place. If we were open 7 days a week, they'd be here.
It gives them a place to go. A lot of these people, maybe their families have moved away, so they don't have, their friends have passed and all like that. So this is a central meeting place for them. You come here in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, there's just people come here to have a cup of coffee and sit with friends. These people would be stuck in their homes. They would have nothing to do.
A lot of them depend on this place, that they can get away from things at home. They look for that meal. They look for people to help them, you know, socially.
Now, I'm alone. My wife passed away 2 years ago. So you're alone at home. At least you come here, you have company, you eat with somebody, you talk. You know, you talk. It's very good.
At least here, they have a safe place, a safe environment. And if this will be closing, the senior will be inside. They have no hot meal anymore. Nobody to see something happen to them. And the same thing with children, you know. Parents will be out of job, and the kids will be out in the street.
In that dining room, we have Asian, we have Latino, we have Black American, and we also have Italian American, and we all sit to each other, and we learn from each other, and this is, you know, what was back then is also continuing now.
On May 2nd, Swinging Sixties will have a grand reopening, expecting an array of political guests who have shown their support, and unveiling a renovated second floor with new bocce courts, pool tables, and other activities to keep the seniors as youthful as they were during our visit. A music lover from an early age in his native Calabria, Italy, musician Enrico Granafei welcomed Italics to his Trumpets Jazz Club on a day off, and even gave us a private performance, which we'll share with you. Let's go to Montclair, New Jersey, and visit Enrico Granafei. Trumpets Jazz Club and Restaurant is a place that you and your wife, Christina Massari, opened up more than 14 years ago. Tell us how Trumpets got started.
Well, I had played on that stage many times in the 80s and in the early 90s. Then the place shut down. They closed for about 3.5 years. It was actually my wife's idea to reopen it. Said, you know, this place is sitting there. It looks like nobody's doing anything. Maybe we should reopen it. And I said, okay.
And it's been 14 years.
Actually, it's going to be 15 in October.
What moved you to come to the United States?
The only reason why I came to this country was jazz music. That's it. I didn't know anybody, you know, I didn't have family like many Italians do, but I really wanted to be in the Big Apple, because every jazz musician in the world wants to do that. You want to be where the real thing is, just like American opera singers want to be in Italy.
What was that inspiration, that jazz inspiration in Calabria?
I used to listen to a lot of music, mainly Brazilian music in the 60s. And you know, when you listen to Brazilian music, the way it was played in the 60s, the transition to jazz is immediate, you know, because bossa nova was basically this mix of Brazilian traditional music and jazz. So I started listening to jazz, but the problem was that there were not too many jazz players in Cosenza. And I started studying actually classical guitar, but I wanted to be in Rome because there was so much going on. And that's how I got into jazz. You know, my best friends were jazz musicians, not classical musicians. And then at some point I discovered the harmonica, you know, and that was that was kind of miracle, because the harmonica was really what made me play jazz.
Here you are in the United States after a number of decades.
Yeah, almost three.
Almost three, right? And you have a degree from the Conservatory in L'Aquila, right?
In classical guitar.
In classical music. And then you came to the United States.
What happened was that since I was Italian, from Italy, the first musical job that I found was with an Italian group, I Giullari di Piazza. I was familiar with the work that they were doing because there were some groups in Italy that were following that route, and it was really very refreshing. So I started performing Southern Italian music and theater. Aside from what I was doing with the Giullari di Piazza, I started writing songs in my own dialect, but it was not folk songs. It was like you know, funk tunes or bossa novas, you know, but I was just sing in dialect.
What kind of reception did you find, and how impressive was it to you that there was this love for Southern Italian music?
It was very strange in a way, because I realized all of a sudden how much I had absorbed of my Southern Italian musical tradition. You know, I didn't even know myself, because you know, folk music was something that we used to do for parties, you know, just to have some fun, you know. And then when I came here, I realized that actually was something very deep, very important, and I realized how much people wanted me to do that stuff. I recorded my first album in 1987 with 3 musicians that at that time they were already pretty hot. And then at some point, you know, I got this degree in jazz performance. My wife suggested that. You know. She's responsible for for a lot of things in my life. Actually, it's funny because I wasn't familiar with the American school system. And I thought it was absolutely impossible that I would get a master's degree playing the harmonica. Yeah. I said, you gotta be kidding me, come on, you know, nobody will take me seriously. When they asked me with whom I wanted to study, I said, I don't know. I said, well, we never had a harmonica student before. And of course, we don't have a harmonica instructor. And then at some point I said to myself, you know what, I'll call to Stillman's, you know, who's I would say, the one who actually invented jazz harmonica playing, you know, the greatest of all. So I called him up, I knew him, and said, this is my situation. Would you like to teach me through the school? Oh, sure, no problem.
So these 2 instruments that you play, they're both unique. One is called the DB guitar, the other is the hands-free chromatic harmonica.
There are 2 types of harmonica, the diatonic harmonica and the chromatic harmonica. So the diatonic harmonica only has the 7 notes of the scale. Okay. It's like, you know, only the white keys of the piano. Folk singers and blues players, they've done it for decades. But it's a different thing because it's very simple. You know, you only play on the diatonic scale, and basically whichever note you play sounds good, more or less. The chromatic harmonica plays all the 12 tones of the scale. So what happens is that when you push it down with your lips, it opens up the lower reed plate, like the C-sharp major scale. So you can play chromatically without using your hand.
What's different about this guitar?
It has 2 bass strings and 4 guitar strings.
Okay.
It was like doing things in 3 different dimensions.
And you're taking all of this to Europe soon?
Yes, correct. I'm going to do a tour which will start in my home city, in Cosenza.
So I understand you're going to do a couple of songs for us.
That's right. First of all, I'm going to take advantage of Christine's presence, and she will sing The Shadow of Your Smile with me. And then I'm going to sing a tune that I wrote in Calabrese dialect called Calabrossa. Calabrossa, you know, it means bossa, calabra.
The shadow of your smile when you are gone will color all my dreams and light the dawn. Now when I remember spring, all the joy that love can bring, I will be remembering the shadow of your smile. The shadow of your smile, la da 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 da, la da 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 da.
Tu ci pensi e dopo ti lamenti, vedo una pana che non te ne addienti, ma stamma sento un perdere la pazienza, a dolce gusto sa, non c'è perdenza. E sale minda cinnina visazza, con sala come uvo sempre cucuzza, e non ti creda che sull'accusenza, un rumunno dice ti e ce n'è abbastanza. Ba-ba-dam, ba-ya. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dam, ba-ya. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dam, ba-ya. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dam, ba-ya.
Find out more at trumpetsjazz.com. New this month on Italics TV, the NIAF Spring Gala. Correspondent Lucia Grillo and I joined the festivities and caught up with Louis Prima Jr. after his rocking tribute to his late father.
Buonasera, buonasera, boozy bottle. Hop doo doo, love, 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 love. Buonasera, Senorina, buonasera. It is time to say goodnight to Napoli.
Also on Italics TV, a new Southern question, a panel discussion with Pino Aprile and Antonio Giordano, which took place at the John D. Calandra Italian-American Institute earlier this month, and archived on our live stream channel, new.livestream.com/ItalicsTV, the Calandra Institute's annual conference. This year's theme, Mafias, Realities and Representations of Organized Crime. For forthcoming events taking place at the John D. Calandra Italian-American Institute, visit our website, qc.edu/Calandra. Watch previous editions of Italics on cuny.tv/show/Italics, and web extras on our Italics YouTube channel, Italics TV. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Italics. Tune in to our next episode of Italics, airing May 28th. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.
We'll leave you with some swinging tunes from Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses at NIAF's Spring Gala.
Thank you.